Okay, ready.
Okay, so hi everyone, welcome back, and I wish you all a very happy Sunday morning. Myself, Kritika Goel, and I welcome you all on behalf of Young Indian Theosophers Group to again a very interesting session of the series of the book Ancient Wisdom by Annie Besant. So today's talk is about part 1 of chapter 9, Karma, of the book Ancient Wisdom by Annie Besant. So without wasting any time, let us sit in meditation. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee know is also one with every other. Come back, everyone. Thank you for joining. So let's start. Our speaker for the day is Sister Suvralina. She is an HR professional with more than 25 years of experience. She is a life member of Theosophical Society of India since 2003. She has addressed in youth camps on motivating and leading youth. She's associated with NGOs and organizations working for holistic development of children. She founded a new lodge, Prayas Theosophical Lodge, in December 2017. The members of the lodge are mostly young children and youth for whom she conducts weekly meetings and also seminars, special study classes, workshops time to time. During her membership of last 18 years, she's also been an active TOS member working for poor and unprivileged children. She took charge of TOS Delhi region in 2016 as a regional secretary and has been dedicatedly working under the guidance of senior members of TOS. So let's all welcome her for today's talk. Over to you, Sister Suvralina.
Thank you, Kritika. Good morning, all of you. So finally, we are reaching at the most awaited chapter, Karma, which I have been referring probably from the session 1 I have been taking in the series from January. Why this chapter is very important? Because whatever we have been discussing and studying so far in this series of reincarnation and karma is based on law of karma, which we would now explore in this 2 sessions on the subject karma. We have already studied and we know there is this evolution of the soul by reincarnations. Let us now understand the great law of cause and effect under which all these rebirths are carried on. And as I said, this particular law is law of karma. Now, karma is a Sanskrit word literally meaning action. As all actions are effects flowing from preceding causes. And as each of these actions or the effect becomes a cause of future effects. So it is a whole series. We do something, we actually create a cause which further creates an effect, and that very effect also is creating another cause. So this idea of cause and effect is an essential part of the idea of action, and the word action or karma is therefore used for causation, causing something, or for the unbroken linked series of causes and effects that make up all human activity. In regular day-to-day activities also, when we see that, there are situations when we say, no, it's not happening and things are not moving in the right direction, or whatever I'm wishing, it's not happening. There is a great saying or a great practice we can pick up. Let's go and cause it. Many a times, I have adopted it very recently. I would push myself. If something I want to complete or I want to ensure that it happens and it's not happening, I will say, okay, I'll cause it. Instead of saying, it's not in my luck, or I don't know, it's why I'm not getting through it. Even solving our problems. So this, when we say ourselves, I'll go and cause it, that means I'm driving to do that. If I want a particular effect and I'm not going to create a cause, so there is no point, the effect will not come out of it. This is one idea, one side of the story. But again, as we know, every action has a result. So we have to choose what kind of action I'm going to take. And if you don't want further results, so let us not cause. So it's an idea which we can, contemplate. So as we know, no one life is isolated. So we cannot say, okay, this is a particular life which has no link with any past lives, or which is nothing to do with the next life. No, it's not like that. The book says it is the child of all the lives before it and the parent of all the lives that follow it. It is again a sequential and a series born life. In the total aggregate of the lives that make up in the continuing existence of the individual. That is why there is no such thing as chance or accident. Every event is linked to a preceding cause, to a following effect. All thoughts, deeds, circumstances are causally related to the past and will causally influence the future. So let us become a bit of conscious in whatever happens to us. Let us take a pause and understand, why is it happening? Why this particular person came into my life? Why this particular incident create, maybe it could be a pain, pleasure, it could be challenge, it could be satisfaction. What was that in that? Let us explore. Now, the savage or the ignorant who do not know the laws of this universe, what they regard these events as, they say, okay, this is something, a miracle happened. Or they would say, okay, by luck, this clicked to me. There is nothing like this. There is no luck. Nothing comes out of the blue. Everything is so well planned. And when we get into more of the theory and the working of the karma, we will realize many of people struggle doing certain things and they say, no, it's not happening. It's not in my luck. But they really do not understand that every karma will not bring its result that quickly. It will not happen then and there. Some of the results or some of the effects will take time to come on the surface. So we will get into it in detail. So for the time being, now we understand there is a series of cause and effect that is coming to us as an effect which we have caused. That will come as an effect which we will cause. And if something we really want to happen and from the whole of our heart we want it, we cannot expect somebody else to come and do it. We have to go and cause it. That is the basic theory of cause and effect. Although we are not consciously aware of the give and take karmic accounts generated in our previous births. Now, what is this karmic accounts? Basically, it's a give and take. So we have to settle it. Like we have borrowed some money from someone and we have taken a loan and we have to repay. So every karma that we have created, we have to pay for it. Otherwise, we are not going to settle that account. So in our subsequent births, we may or may not be equipped to settle our destiny. And the paradox is that at the same time, we are creating new karmic accounts. So we cannot say, okay, now everything is settled. Everything is clean now. I've cleaned my slate. Nothing is going to be writing over it. No, by the time we have removed certain things, we have already written certain things also on the slate. So this is a kind of that's why it's called paradox. It's never clean. It's never complete. Time to time, we are adding something. We're deleting something. The whole thing is churning up. If we act motivated by greed, hatred, delusion, we are planting the seed of suffering. And when our acts are motivated by generosity, love, or wisdom, then we are creating the karmic conditions for abundance and happiness. Now, since we know that every kind of karma which is motivated by these negative elements called greed, hatred, delusion, and we are actually planting a seed, and that is why we will suffer. Similarly, when there is generosity, charity, love, and wisdom, that will bring us happiness. But let us look at our own life. On one particular moment and one particular day, even if we take a few hours of the day to analyze, to experiment, we cannot say it was whole full of love and wisdom. By the time we were loving and being charitable to one particular object, person, or thing, or location, or an atmosphere, at the very same time, there is an element of maybe a greed, hatred, or something, superstition, some negative element is also happening at that particular time. We are kind to somebody, and that in that particular situation, we are unkind to somebody. So it is not complete kindness. We are happy for someone, but at the same time, probably there is a bit of jealousy for someone. So on the very same situation, on the very same surface, both the things are popping up. That is why it's not settling down. And as we have already, heard from others and have already quoted this, like if you plant an apple seed, it will bear apples, not mangoes. And once the apple seed is planted, no amount of manipulation or beseeching or complaining will include the tree to yield the mango. Because it's planted, it's gone. It will never give us the other thing. The only meaningful action that will produce mango is to plant a mango seed. Karma is just like that. The way the law of nature works, the very same way the law of cause and effect works on every plane. So again, to continue to this book, an investigator makes a number of experiments, and from the results of this, he learns how nature works. Knowing this, he can calculate how to bring about a certain desired result, and he fails in achieving that result. He knows that he has omitted some necessary condition. Either his knowledge is imperfect or he has made a miscalculation. Then he reviews his knowledge, revises his methods, recasts his calculations with a serene and complete certainty that if he asks his question rightly, nature will answer him, and with unvarying precision. Here they give an example. Hydrogen and oxygen will not give him water today and prussic acid tomorrow. Fire will not burn him today and freeze him tomorrow. Because hydrogen and oxygen, by the virtue itself, by their property itself, will give water. They cannot give anything else other than water. And fire will never feel us cold if we touch it. It will always feel us hot, and it will burn us. It will never freeze us, because that is a very, very, very essence of fire. Every karma has its own essence. If there is greed, we will suffer. That is it. We cannot say out of greed we'll get happiness. It might seem to be getting happiness initially, but the end result is we will suffer. It's as simple as that. You eat, you are happy. You overeat, you will have indigestion and you will have problem in the system. Greed means what? It's something over wanting, right? Similarly, anger. Even if it's a justified anger, people will come and justify. I myself go and justify many times. Okay, yes, anger has to be there. But again, every time we are angry, it is harming us. We think by being angry or by creating an anger, we are harming the other person. No. The more we are harming the other, the much more we are harming ourselves. So there are certain things, certain basic karmas or basic actions we do. It has tremendous effects instantly, we will realize, like anger and greed. Every new piece of information about the laws of nature is not a fresh restriction but a fresh power. For all these energies of nature become forces which he can use in proportion as he understands them. That is why understanding the basic nature, the law of nature, is important. The moment we are aware of a law and we restrict ourselves or we discipline ourselves, we are bringing balance in our life. This book says knowledge is power. We know it, then we are powerful. We do not know, we are powerless. Again, going back to our basic theory, there are two kinds of people, people who know and people who do not know. People who know will behave in a certain manner. They will act in a certain manner. Only when we do not act in a particular manner, along with the law of nature, law of the universe, that means we do not know. That's it, as simple as that. We are ignorant. And probably when somebody else is doing that, he's ignorant. We can only help him by shouting, by scolding. We cannot bring any change in him. We can only help him explaining. The ignorant man stumbles helplessly along, striking himself against the immutable laws and seeing his efforts fail, while the man of knowledge walks steadily forward, foreseeing, causing, preventing, adjusting, and bringing about that at which he aims, not because he's lucky, but because he understands. Many a times we refer people as he's a very lucky man, or everything good happens to him. Every time he's cheerful, every time all good things are happening to him. We probably do not go and observe how he's leading a life, how differently he's handling situations, how coherent his life is with universal laws of nature. We do not, look through those things. We only see the results of what is happening to him, how he's leading a life, how he's balancing a life. We are actually ignorant in that aspect, and we quote that, okay, he's a lucky man, everything good happens to him. Man can become the master of his destiny only because that destiny lies in a realm of law, where knowledge can build up the science of the soul and place in the hands of man the power of controlling his future, of choosing alike his future character and his future circumstances. If we go back to our young days when we were playing together as little children, we would have observed that certain kids were very different. They will deal life very differently. They have a very different notions towards everything. They will think differently, act differently, feel differently. And when we all grew up, we will see that they've actually become very different, both way, positive, negative, whatever way you look at them. There is a way of life for them. They have groomed themselves, or they have been on that particular path. And from that very childhood, they have been acquiring those skills or power or qualities, which has, or which all of these qualities have made him this person today, because this, as a child, he had practiced certain things. And that is why he's a very different person. If we look at our own friends or in the family members, and some people say, okay, from childhood he was like that. So whether you are a saint or a dacoit, how did you handle your life in the early days of your life? That will, say about it. That is why we are master of our destiny. If we have given certain amount of time and energy to one particular way of living, that will give us back today. And if we do it today, it will give us back, or it will take us to a level, maybe in future years or in future births. Depends on what kind of acceleration we are picking up. Karma is then the law of causation, the law of cause and effect. It was put pointedly by the Christian initiate S. Paul: be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that shall he also reap. There is no, not a single thing God can change. No such thing is there which is in God's hand. We have sown and we will reap. That's it. Man is continually sending out forces on all the planes on which he functions. These forces themselves, in quantity and quality, the effects of his past activities, are causes which he sets going in each world he inhabits. As a magnet has its magnetic field, an area within which all its forces play, larger or smaller, according to its strength, so has every man a field of influence within which play the forces he emits. And these forces work in curves that return to their fourth center, that re-enter the center when they emerged. So we have to, decide what kind of a magnet I am. How big is my magnetic field? What kind of field I'm creating? We will attract similar things to us. We will go stronger. If you want to read books, if you want to research, you will see that more researching minds you will attract. People will come to you. They'll discuss knowledge. They will discuss their explorations. If you want to discuss money, people who are money minded, they will come to you. They'll get attracted to you. They'll give you a lot of advice, and they will bring you certain schemes. Okay, if you do it, you will, you are going to triple your money, or double your money in 4 days, 5 days. There are many schemes happening in the world. Those people will come to you. If you want a meditative life, a life full of discussions in the search of supremacy, divinity, you will attract more and more such people. You will get attracted to more and more such people who will talk about that, who will give you how they lead and how they are practicing things, and you get new things to do. So it is all about you, or all about me. What I'm attracting, what is my magnetic field, who am I inviting into my field. There are 3 classes of energies which we are sending forth in our ordinary life, and these are mental energies on the mental plane, giving rise to the causes we call thoughts. So when we are working on a level of energy on the mental plane, that will give thoughts to me. Depends on what kind of mental energy I'm using, what kind of thoughts I'll bring. Then there are desire energies on the astral plane, giving rise to those we call desires. So it again depends what kind of desire I'm kind of creating. Causing, I always say, okay, causing. Physical energies around by which, and working on the physical plane, that give rise to the causes we call action. So all my thoughts, desires, and actions are caused by me only, by 3 different kinds of energies. I cannot say that, these thoughts that just came to me, I attracted. I just wanted to have it. That is why the desire came. I wanted to do it, act upon it. That is why this is what I'm doing. I am responsible. I am the master of my destiny. In studying these three classes of energies, we shall have to distinguish between their effect on the man who generates them and their effect on others who come within the field of his influence. We must remember that every force works on its own plane and reacts on the planes below it in proportion to its intensity. As we know, the seven planes are not independent, they are linked, interlinked. And that is why evolution happens. Plane by plane, we're evolving. The plane on which it is generated gives it its special characteristics, and in its reaction on lower planes, it sets up vibrations in their finer or coarser materials according to its own original nature. The motive which generates the activity determines the plane to which the force belongs. Next, it will be necessary to distinguish between the ripe karma ready to show itself as inevitable events in the present life, the karma of character showing itself in tendencies that are the outcome of accumulated experiences. So, as we already know, there are three kinds of karma: prarabdha, to be worked out in the life. It was already there. Sanchita, getting accumulated. Kriyamana, it is in the course of making. That is why every action will not have its result immediately. Recently, I lost a friend of mine just 2 days back. A very, very noble soul, soft spoken, very, very sober, sweet. She was a professor in an engineering college and she was teaching mathematics, and not even 50 years old. And she died out of gallbladder cancer. She suffered for 3 years and then she left her body. Now, one of my close friends, she called me. We all friends, kind of called each other after hearing all the news. She was just asking me, as far as we know, she's such a noble person, and we have hardly seen her, shouting, scolding, having any jealousy, having any anger, having any negative traits in her. Why did she suffer? My friend was asking me, and we were just discussing, because at least in this life we did not see her, committing any kind of, she's very, very sweet, very sober. Then my other friend was just discussing, she would have done something, probably, this is what, and she got all success in this life. She did well in studies, and she got a job instantly after completion of her studies. Everything was going perfectly fine. And then this 3 years of life came into her life, and she met with an accident. Of an accident she suffered, then while in the treatment she got cancer. So how come all of a sudden it came into her life? So we were discussing, so there was something in store for her. All good things happened to her, but then towards the end of her life, she had to pay for that, whatever she would have done in a past life. We just recently, discussed. That's why I quoted it as an example. There was something called prarabdha. So there are many people who would be, experiencing this. Everything will be going good. Then there is one particular phase of life, the prarabdha will come and strike. Then there are people who would have accumulated so many things that throughout life they are suffering. Honestly, I know very close personal family member of me. I personally tell her many times, probably, I know back to back things are not happening to you. Back to back, you're suffering. I just pray that this is your last word. I literally say her, I just pray that this is your last word, because at least all sufferings will go. Okay, if you are facing it, please cheerfully accept it. At least in this life, let all sufferings go. So we would have seen such things. There are many people who are back to back suffering actually. And then there are many people in the mid of their life, something will happen. So we have to actually look at it rationally. We have to realize that while a man makes his own individual karma, he also connects himself thereby with others, thus becoming a member of various groups, family, national, racial, and as a member, he shares in the collective karma of each of these groups. Many people die out of a natural calamity at the same moment, or maybe by an accident, train accident, aeroplane crash. To some extent, we have to, if we try to understand that, why they were destined to face the same accident at the same time. And that is where we will get to understand this collective karma. Each man makes its own karma, creating alike his own capacities and his own limitations, and that working at any time with his self-created capacities and within the self-created limitations, he is still himself, the living soul, and can strengthen or weaken his capacities, enlarge or contract his limitations. Why these lines are given in this book? That we cannot just surrender to all effects. Okay, let everything go on its own way. No. Then there is this capacity given to us, how we make the further karmas. How do we choose to accept the suffering? Accepting suffering is a karma also. If we suffer it cheerfully, it will go on smoothly. By out of suffering, creating a bad karma will bring us more effects, bad effects. We are all masters of our tomorrows. However much we are hampered today by the results of our yesterdays. This is the learning which I've underlined in this book. We all are masters of our tomorrows, however much we are hampered today by the results of our yesterdays. We should keep on, in every situation when we suffer and we think that everything is gone, nothing is in my hand, we have to immediately think of it. A man can have no thought power, no mental ability that he has not himself created by patiently repeated thinkings. On the other hand, no mental image that he has thus created is lost. Everything, even if for a spark of second we are thinking, it is stored. It is nowhere lost. It is added to our mental image. And it remains as a material for the faculty. So let us be very, very conscious about what we think, what we feel, and what we do. Very, very conscious. And interestingly, if we are, I'll go back to that logic. There are two types of people. Let me repeat. It has really got a, hidden mantra in it. There are two types of people who know, people who do not know. Let me first choose. Am I falling under the category of I know? If I know, then let me take charge of my thoughts, desires, and actions. If I do not know, then also a person who doesn't know, what does he do? He goes and learn. So in that process also, he gets a chance to practice what he learns. So wherever we want to start from, if I say I come under the category of ignorant, okay, you are ignorant, that's why we're doing. Now we got the logic. Okay, if I'm ignorant, I'm not doing proper. So let me be conscious. I will do proper. That's number one theory. The number two, if I claim that I know, then that's fine. I'll take charge. So nowhere I can just escape saying that, no, it's not in my hand. I start from ignorant. I will learn to be knowing. If I claim that I know, I'll behave proper. That's it. Man is a creature of reflection. That which he reflects on in this life, he becomes the same hereafter. Towards the end, I will tell a story. I had kind of captured it. We all know that story, but we will again conclude with that. on this particular aspect. Whatever we reflect, whatever we have been continuously thinking, we will become like that. That is why, people say, I am what I am. This is today's trend. These are all printed on orders, banners. People are, printing it on their t-shirts also. I am what I am. That is it. I have been thinking of it. I have been reflecting upon it. That is why I'm becoming that. Mental character is a case of individual karma in its action on the individual who generates it. The same man that we are considering, however, affects other by his thoughts. For the mental images that form his own mental body set of vibrations. So what happens? The more and more we deal with people, the more and more people come into our magnetic field, they are also affected by our mental images. So that is how the very karma we do and people are connected with us as a group, it will affect them. And as we unify as a group and any one of the person does it, it will affect the group. It is so powerful. These in their action on their progenitor mold and form his body of desire or astral body, shape his fate when he passes into Kamaloka after death, and determine the nature of the astral body in the next birth. So it is nothing to do with just in this life. We are creating our next birth also. It is not just for tomorrow, means today is 6th February and only 7th February. No, we are creating it for our lives, next lives. Now about desires. Desires, because they are outgoing energies that attach themselves to objects, always attract the man towards an environment in which they may be gratified. We know desires are there only. We want gratification of our desires. Desire for everything, liking the soul to the outer world, linking the soul to the outer world, draw him towards the place where the objects of desire are most readily obtainable. And therefore, it is said that man is born according to his desires. So it's not about just mental images, also the desires. Because the astro-mental images caused by desires affect others as do those generated by thoughts. They therefore also link us with other souls, and often by the strongest ties of love and hatred. We cannot say that just because we love something, we are attracted to something, that will only create our desires, or that will only create our future. Even hatred create our futures. Loved only doesn't bind, hatred also binds. Likings not only bind, dislikings also bind. So let us be careful. If you say that, I am working on my attractions, and I will not be attached. Even let us work on our detachments. Because the more and more we are thinking that we are getting detached, the very thought is also going there. All the things, likings and dislikings, love and hatred, attraction and repulsion, everything binds us. Even repulsion binds us. A strong dislike of something, a strong repulsion towards something, that is also binding. That is again creating our images, astromental images. That is why a serious hating of something, or very rigorous hatred towards somebody is also binding, because we are creating a karma for that particular person, and it will bounce back. So let us be careful about not just attractions, also our repulsions. We learn that our desires in their action on ourselves produce our desire nature, and through it largely affect our physical bodies in our next birth. That they play a great part in determining the place of birth. It's not only what kind of a body we'll have, because we have desired something very much. So I am choosing my body type, my place of birth, the people who I would associate in my future lives, this is all I'm attracting. Because these are effects of my past thinkings, my past desires, my past actions, karma. And this will happen. This will take shape. The favorable, unfavorable nature of the physical surroundings into which we are born depends on the effect of our previous actions in spreading happiness or unhappiness. Depends what exactly we did. The physical results and others of actions on the physical plane work out karmically in repaying to the actor good or bad surroundings in a future life. Everything is, actually a account settlement. Every force works on its own plane. If a man sows happiness for others on the physical plane, he will reap conditions favorable to happiness for him on that plane. And his motive in sowing it does not affect the result. We cannot say my motive was something like that. I didn't want it. No, motive is far more important than action. And a mistaken action done with a good motive is productive of more good to the doer than a well-chosen action done with a bad motive. The motive reacting on the character gives rise to a long series of effects. For the future actions guided by the character will all be influenced by its improvement or its deterioration. So it's not about just thought, desires, and actions. While we are acting upon something, let us understand what is the motive behind it. Then only we can have a regulated action, and we know that we are masters of our tomorrows. We'll be better masters of our tomorrows. We'll create a better future for us. It's all in our hand. Whatever stage of life we are in, we are students. I prepare well, I will write the exams well. I'm a player, I'm a sports person, I will do exercise, I will have nutritious food, I will nourish my body and I will play well. I'm a singer, I will do riyaz, I'll practice, then only I'll perform well. Everything goes back to our very basic actions, what we want to become. We want to have a peaceful meditation, then I will clean my bodies, purified bodies, and then I'll have good meditation. So it's all in my hand. Why should I say that it's not in my luck or it's not destined, it's not there for me? Because I didn't create it. That is why. Let us go and cause it. Whatever, if you want, go and cause it. Don't wait for others. Now, coming back to the story, which I said that I will be taking up, like how when we think something very deeply, we become that. So I know most of you would be knowing the story, but please let us read and recall the story again. There was this great King Bharata. King Bharata, in his old days, gave over his throne to his son and retired into the forest. He who had been the ruler over millions and millions of subjects, who had lived in marble palaces inlaid with gold and silver, who had drunk out of jeweled cups, this king built a little cottage with his own hands, made of reeds and grass, on the banks of a river in the Himalayan forest. There, he lived on roots and wild herbs, collected by his own hands, and constantly meditated upon him, the supremacy, who's always present in the soul of man. Days, months, and years passed. One day, a deer came to drink water nearby where the royal sage was meditating. At the same moment, a lion rode at a little distance off. The deer was so terrified that she, without satisfying her thirst, made a big jump to cross the river. The deer was young, and this extreme exertion and sudden fright made her give birth to a little fawn, and immediately after she fell dead. The fawn fell into the water and was being carried rapidly away by the foaming stream when it caught the eyes of the king. The king rose from his position of meditation and, rescuing the fawn from the water, took it to his cottage, made a fire, and with care and attention fondled the little thing back to life. Then the kindly sage took the fawn under the protection, bringing it up soft grass and fruits. The fawn thrived under the parental care of the retired monarch and grew into a beautiful deer. Then he, whose mind had been strong enough to break away from lifelong attachment to power, position, and family, became attached to the deer, which he had set from the stream. And as he became fonder and fonder of the deer, the less and less he could concentrate his mind upon the Lord in meditation. When the deer went out to graze in the forest, if it were late in returning, the mind of the royal sage would become anxious and worried. He would think, perhaps my little one has been attacked by some tiger, or perhaps some other danger has befallen it. Otherwise, why it is late? Some years passed in this way, but one day death came, and the royal sage laid himself down to die. But his mind, instead of being intent upon the self, was thinking about the deer. And with his eyes fixed upon the sad looks of his beloved deer, his soul left his body. As the result of this, in the next birth, he was born as a deer. But no karma is was living in an animal body. He always left after the usual years of this life had been spent, it died and was next born as the youngest son of a rich Brahmin. And that also, as it grew up, was strong and healthy, but would not speak a word and lived as one inert and insane. Yes?
After you said that he was born as a deer again in the next life, we couldn't hear anything because your network connection is
Okay. Should I read it again?
Yes, please.
Okay, good. Now, he was born as a deer, but no karma was lost. So he was born as a deer who could remember his past birth. He was a Jatismara. Past birth he could remember. Right? And he, as a deer, would always be attracted to go to the hermitages where Upanishads were preached. Then after the usual years of a deer's life, the deer died and again was born as a youngest son of a rich Brahmin. And in this birth, he grew up very strong and healthy, but he could not speak. He was inert and insane for fear of getting mixed up with worldly affairs, because he was again a Jatismara. He could remember his past life. His thoughts were always on the infinite, and he lived only to wear out his past prarabdha karma. In course of time, his father died, and the other sons divided the property among themselves, and thinking that the youngest was a dumb, good for nothing, they seized his share. They didn't give him anything. The wives of the brothers were often very harsh to him, putting him to do all the hard work. And if he was unable to do anything they wanted, they would treat him very unkindly. One day, when the wives of the brothers had treated him with more than usual unkindness, Bharata, again the same soul has taken so many bodies, no? So Bharata went out of the house, seated himself under the shadow of a tree and rested. Now it happened that the king of the country was passing by, carried in a palanquin on the shoulders of bearers. one of the bearers had unexpectedly fallen ill. And so his attendants were looking about for a man to replace him. They came upon Bharata seated under a tree, and saying he was a strong young man, they asked him if he would take the place of the sick man in bearing the king's palanquin. But Bharata did not reply. He couldn't speak, that's why he couldn't reply. Seeing that he was so able-bodied, the king's servants caught hold of him and placed the pole of his shoulders on his shoulders. Without speaking a word, Bharata went on. Very soon after this, the king remarked that the palanquin was not being evenly carried, and looking out of the palanquin, he addressed the new bearer, saying, "Fool, rest a while. If your shoulders pain you, rest a while." Then Bharata, laying the pole of the palanquin down, opened his lips for the first time in his life and spoke, "Whom do you, O king, call a fool? Whom do you ask to lay down the palanquin? Who do you say is weary? Who do you address as you? If you means, O king, by the word thee, this mass of flesh, it is composed of the same matter as yours. It is unconscious and it knows no weariness. It knows no pain." So what we say is, throughout the year he didn't speak, but now he spoke. If it is the mind is the same as thine. And a lot of things he said. And after hearing this, the king, who was proud of his learning, knowledge, and philosophy, alighted from the palanquin and fell at the feet of Bharata, saying, "I ask my pardon, O mighty one. I didn't know that you are a sage. When I asked you to carry me," he blessed him, Bharata blessed him and departed. He then resumed the even tenor of his previous life. And when he left his body, he was freed from ever from the bondage of birth. So what a sequence of lives he went through, because he created that thought. It was just an example. There could be many examples also in our current lives too. So before we conclude the chapter next time, at least till the time, let us be conscious about what we think, what we feel or desire, or what we do, because we are not ignorant. At least all of us sitting here, we come under the category of people who know. So we cannot escape saying that I am ignorant. If we say that we know, let us behave that we know. Right? Thank you all.
Wonderful. You always make the session so interesting with, I don't know, you bring out stories from somewhere or the other. Thank you so much, Sister Suvralina. So I open the forum for question and answers, and I see a lot of people. So let's start.
I will just begin. Thank you, Sister Suvralina, for a really wonderful explanation. And I think karma is one of my favorite subjects also, because every time you hear it and you realize you cannot blame anyone else for your problems. And the only person who can solve the problems is yourself. So that was a very great explanation. And as you said, to go and cause the things rather than going, okay, people go to temple, church, mosque, put chadars, candles and nariyals and go to here, there to get something in return. But instead of that, if they really create that positive energy by their thoughts, emotions and actions, that might change or modify some of the karma coming to them. So that was really great. Just one thing I would like to add or just bring to notice of our audience, the theosophical listeners, that the story that you shared is very often the story that is told when in a theosophical lecture it is said that a human cannot be reborn as an animal. So people say, no, no, there is the story of Raja Bharat and he was born as a deer. So what is the science behind it? I have shared in the group also the video link, YouTube video, and in the chat here also people can see, but just in a short way to explain that It's actually not the person is born as a deer or as an animal. There are a couple of options. Like what happens is after the death, in the astral plane, the person becomes what he has been thinking of at the time of death, whatever it is. And then he's so attached to the uh, material world, physical plane, that his onward journey is stopped. So what you said as a deer, he could not make any progress. So basically that is an astral plane the person has to stay for a much longer period. And then when that is done, then he takes the next birth, human itself. Or otherwise, if when people take birth as a human, but in an animal state of mind, or they live life like an animal in the sense, the passions or whatever kind of things they have. So, because once our individualization happens, the causal body is formed, uh, it is okay, almost impossible as we study to go back in the animal body. So if anybody wants to watch that, they can watch. But this was really a very good example that no matter how one has lived his life, at the time of death, what you are attached or detached, whatever it is. And the very good point you said that not only attachment, we have to take care of our detachments also. Thank you so much for a wonderful explanation.
Thank you, Brother Shikhar. I see Sister Vimal raising hand.
Yeah, Shikhar, actually, I'd like to ask you a question. See, 2010, my mother passed away, and within 2-3 months, a pup was born, and my family we adopted that pup. So it was about 4 months since my mother's death, and somehow, the color of the pup's eyes and my mother's eyes are same, light brown, and that pup was a protector for our family. It saved my son from a big accident once, and many things. Extraordinarily loving, never bit anybody. Everybody who loved dogs loved that dog. Actually, the dog died yesterday, and it's 12 years. Now I'm researching this कि 12 साल के बाद क्या कामरूप में कुछ आगे जाते was some element of my mother in that pup. Like कहते हैं ना, शरीर तो मर जाता है लेकिन उसके elements किसी में भी जा सकते हैं. They can be the thing can go. So मेरा ऐसे conjecture guessing कुछ भी कह लो उसको, क्योंकि जो dog था इतना loving था, इतना protection था उस dog में. It also has died a few more years वो जी सकता था. My mother also died at the age of 64. few more years वो जी सकती थी. बहुत similar था. और ये 12 साल का coincidence और death is 4 दिन before my mother died 12 years ago, February में. तो क्या सोचते हैं आप?
No, we are very sorry for your loss, first of all, and all our love and courage to you and your family to face this situation. And yeah, the one point that you said, that once the person is dying and he has still a lot of attachment to the family, so in the astral form, that entity tries some way to contact them. So if an animal body is a simpler body to control, so, or influence rather, because animals are more instinctive. And a human body has its own individuality, the mind and all. So sometimes in the form of, sometimes we say the birds, some bird, or in somebody has come back in the form of bird or a dog or horse or something. Basically, they are trying to, through that, the animal, they are not reborn as an animal, but they are influencing, and through that, they are expressing their affection or care or whatever. That is a possibility. And another possibility is that once the body is destroyed, the atoms that are freed, they take the form of a new body in the animal birth. But it's only the atoms, but atoms still have that memory of the life. So in some way, it felt some harmony with those people that the person loved. So yes, that can happen. very much. And there have been many other examples like this. And Miss Dr. Ian Stevenson has, he has researched on it a lot, reincarnations, especially people who die in a, not in old age. I mean, like young age or approximately young age, because their attachment is still very strong. So they don't want to go further. They want to still,
Yeah.
attach to their family and loved ones.
They are worried.
They are
They
worried.
worry.
They worry, like a mother, suppose, whose children are there and she dies. I know people personally that one of my uncle died and auntie was there and two children, and she was like no job, no financial, nothing, or many people were trying to grab the property and she was alone. So she, in her dreams, in visions, he came and he helped her where the things are, where the papers are, and yeah, to that extent. So it happens. They try to help in dreams, they try to contact. But once they go beyond astral plane, then it is impossible for them to come, but it is possible for us to raise our consciousness and meet them in the higher mental.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother. I see brother Aditya raising hand.
Yeah. Hi, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah. Okay. So anything that we want in life, we need to do a certain, let's say, karma, and then we expect it to yield a certain result. That's what we learned about karma as well, right? So, for example, let's say if I want to make my mental body strong, I will practice concentration and stuff like that. So my question is, does this apply for things like awareness? Like where I'm coming from for this question is, when I read sometimes Krishnamurti, I see things like be absolutely alert, but make no effort. So I'm not able to relate these two things. Like, can we make an effort to be more conscious, or does it come by itself?
Okay, it's good to hear that you are studying Krishnamurti, one of our favorites. Like we all at our lodge give a lot of importance to Krishnamurti literature. See, every time you pick up a book of Krishnamurti, he would straightway challenge you. You would have realized that what he tries to tell us in each of his sentence, in each of his book is, many a times we think we are there, but actually we are not there. You're talking about awareness, that's what I'm saying. For example, we go to a picnic spot, okay, and there is a very scenic beauty, and what we do is, the moment we see the beauty, we start clicking a snap, we take a selfie. I'm being very contemporary, giving contemporary example here, and we try to capture that as a memory, so that we will go and reflect and enjoy. But at the very moment, we don't enjoy that, right? So what happens, instead of being there in that particular moment, we try to associate that with our past, or maybe our future, or maybe with some object, some location. We start saying, okay, this place now gives me this happiness. मुझे भवाली में जैसे लग रहा था, यहाँ ऐसे लग रहा है. Oh, that particular site, ये शिमला में भी ऐसा दिखता है, something like that. We try to divert the very essence of the thing, associating with something else, and then हम aware नहीं रहते, and we do not enjoy that particular now thing. Awareness is actually being in the now, and being in the now में कोई effort नहीं लगता. It's only the effort is required when we try to associate with something else. But purely being there, purely surrendering there and being there, आप खुद ही देखो, लोग टेम्पल जाते हैं. Many people go to temple. Ask everyone. कोई भी बंदा टेम्पल जाने से पहले कुछ सोच के गया होगा, कुछ मन में उसके होंगे कि एस्पिरेशंस हो सकते हैं, फियर हो सकता है, एंजाइटी हो सकता है. बट एक्चुअली द मोमेंट यू आर बिफोर द आइडल, अगर आप उतने सरेंडरिंग में गए हैं, आप वहां एक लफ्ज नहीं बोल पाएंगे, बिकॉज यू आर जस्ट देयर, और उसमें कोई एफर्ट नहीं लगाया आपने. एब्सोल्यूट सेरेनिटी, एब्सोल्यूट अवेयरनेस, उसमें एफर्ट नहीं लगता, वो अपने आप उस बहाव में रहते हैं, यू आर जस्ट देयर। सिमिलरली लोग जो कहते हैं ना कि मेडिटेट करने के लिए, मेडिटेशन किया नहीं जाता, मेडिटेशन होता है। तो एफर्ट आपका तभी लगेगा जब आप कुछ एक्स्ट्रा करते हो। सांस लेने के लिए कभी एफर्ट लगा है? वेरी बेसिक थिंग, द सांसे, द वेरी इनहेलेशन एंड एक्सहेलेशन वी डू वी टेक एफर्ट? वो अपने आप चल रही है। क्यों? वो है, सांसों के लिए कभी एफर्ट नहीं लगती है। हम कभी सुबह उठ के बोलते हैं चलो यार सांस लेते हैं, नो। हम बोलते हैं चलो ब्रश करते हैं, चलो कपड़े धोते हैं, चलो नहाते हैं, चलो खाना बनाते हैं। डू वी एवर से दैट चलो सांस लेते हैं? नहीं, सांस अपने आप चलती है। लाइफ इज लाइक दैट, ये अपने आप होती रहती है कुछ चीजें जिसके लिए एफर्ट्स नहीं लगाना है। ओनली व्हेन हम उसको पर्सनलाइज करते हैं या किसी चीज के साथ एसोसिएट करते हैं, द मोमेंट वी टेक एफर्ट, इट्स इन अ डिफरेंट चैनल। इसलिए टू प्रैक्टिस, मैं अपने हिसाब से बोल देती हूँ, कभी कभी अपने जो हमारा एक भीड़ मची रही है ना लाइफ में, ऑलवेज बिजी काइंड ऑफ लाइफ, लेट अस टेक फ्यू मोमेंट्स एंड टेक अ पॉज एंड सी, एटलीस्ट अपने सांसों को ऑब्जर्व करें, वो भी हो जाएगा। एफर्टलेसनेस अगर कहीं से स्टार्ट करना है, सांसों से सीखना चाहिए कि विदाउट एफर्ट वो चलते रहते हैं, हमें उनको बोलना नहीं पड़ता। ऐसे धीरे धीरे जब करेंगे, फिर आपको वो एफर्टलेस वाली स्टेट जो है वो पता चल जाएगी। एंड प्लीज कीप रीडिंग जय कृष्णमूर्ति।
Beautiful answer. Thanks a lot.
And today in Prayas Theosophical Lodge, we have a meeting, rather a talk on At the Feet of the Master. So you can join.
So you may join. We are talking about At the Feet of Master के 4 qualifications by young speakers. तो आज आप 3 बजे हमारे लिंक पे आ सकते हैं।
कृतिका जी, आप सुबह भी सोने नहीं देती है, दोपहर में भी सोने नहीं देती है, क्या बात क्या यार। I just wanted to share one thing. Yesterday I just finished watching this new movie on Netflix called Loop Lapeta. थोड़ा सा सिमिलर है। क्या है कि ये एक लड़की है, तापसी, who's playing that, वो एक ही सिचुएशन को 3 बार करती है और फर्स्ट 2 टाइम्स वो गलत काम करती है और सिचुएशन खराब हो जाता है, तीसरे टाइम सही काम करती है उसी सिचुएशन में। इट्स अ ब्यूटीफुल एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ कर्मा ओनली। अच्छा, आप लोग देखिए उसको।
Okay, ma'am. So is there any other question or suggestion? आजकल वासुमती मैम आती है लेकिन कुछ बोलती नहीं है।
नहीं, उनको भी कोल्ड कफ हो रखा है।
नहीं, गुड मॉर्निंग।
गुड मॉर्निंग मैम, वेयर आर यू?
हाँ, मैं सुन रही थी, इतने ध्यान से सुन रही थी। स्वरलीना ने एक्सीलेंट एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ कर्मा, बहुत बढ़िया एक्सप्लेन किया है और उसमें कहीं कोई प्रश्नों की गुंजाइश ही नहीं थी। तो बहुत बहुत साधुवाद स्वरलीना को, बहुत अच्छा प्रोग्राम, और कृतिका तो बहुत अच्छा करती ही है, और सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स ने, शिखर ने और विमल जी ने, सभी ने बहुत अच्छा ऐड किया उसमें। सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, आभार। इसी तरह चलते रहें और हम लोग नॉलेज गेन करते रहें एक दूसरे से। थैंक यू।
अगले जन्म में सब लोग एक फैमिली में पैदा होंगे।
बुद्ध के शिष्य थे हम सब।
यस।
आपने एक बात बोली थी कि we should keep trying and someday we'll get the result. So अभी YouTube पे एक song बहुत वायरल हो रखा है, कच्चा बादाम, if anybody has heard. So I'll tell you, मतलब this may be relevant, so I'm sharing. So there is a man in Bengal, so he sells kacha badam and he wanted to be a singer, but he was very poor and because of his financial conditions he couldn't do that. So he prepared a song, and while selling the kacha badam he used to sing a song. So one day a YouTuber went there and recorded his song while selling the kacha badam, and he put that video on YouTube. So that video went so viral, finally singers approached that kacha badam seller, and now his song has actually hit the internet.
Yeah, see, we think these as like miracles, but of course, once we study the theory of karma, how people are connected, and when it's time, the things just happens.
तभी तो whenever you want something, you say, I mean, जो मैंने बोला ना कि go and cause it. If you want, go and cause it. आपने cause नहीं किया तो effect उसका नहीं आएगा.
I see Sister Smita raising hand.
Yeah. Good morning to all. And if there is little time, actually, I have little things to discuss. It's my own experience, like about the karma and the life after the death, something like that. जो before a few times अभी brother Agnihotri बता रहे थे. So regarding to that only, actually, I lost my father in the year 1986. So I think 35 years has been passed. But I don't know, till now, I feel his presence. मैं कभी थोड़ा सा दुखी हूँ या कुछ अपसेट हूँ या समथिंग, तो मैं उनका प्रेजेंस फील करती हूँ. बिकॉज कैसे फील करती हूँ कि एक्चुअली व्हेन ही वाज अलिव वो बहुत स्मोकिंग करते थे. तो मुझे ना अचानक सिगरेट स्मोकिंग का स्मेल आती है, इवन टिल नाउ. मतलब फ्यू डेज बैक भी मैं ऐसे फील किया था. तो ऐसे होता है क्या? आई फेल्ट सॉरी कि पापा, एक्चुअली पापा का और मेरा देयर वाज वेरी मच बॉन्डिंग, अटैचमेंट बहुत ज्यादा था. तो मुझे लगता है कि पता नहीं पापा अभी तक उसी प्लेन में है या क्या है, या आई एम द रीजन सो दैट वो आगे जा नहीं पा रहे. ऐसे कुछ होता है क्या? क्योंकि कहीं भी इस टाइप का कुछ डिस्कशन होता है ना, इमीडिएटली वो चीज, ये क्वेश्चन मेरे मन में आता है. तो मैं चाहूंगी इधर शुभ्रलीना या शिखर जी थोड़ा सा इसके ऊपर मुझे कुछ समझाए.
Suvralina ji, please.
हाँ, मुझे जितनी अंडरस्टैंडिंग में बताती हूँ, बट आई थिंक बसुमती मैम इसके बारे में अच्छा और बोल पाएंगी. देखिए, एक होता है जो हमें छोड़ के गए हैं ना, एक तो उनके साइड से भी है, बिकॉज यू नो इन वट एवर लेवल ही इज, वो आपके लिए, जैसे आप स्मिता मेरी भाभी है तो मैं उनको स्मिता बोल नहीं सकती. तो भाभी के केस में क्या हो रहा है ना, उनके पापा का और उनका बॉन्ड इतना स्ट्रॉन्ग, इवन आई पर्सनली नो दे वर एक्चुअली बॉन्डेड, एकदम बहुत बढ़िया बॉन्ड है एज अ फादर एंड डॉटर. तो भाभी शादी करके तभी आई थी जब उनके पापा का 1 साल भी हुआ होगा कि नहीं होगा. तो काइंड ऑफ कहीं ना कहीं शी वाज वेरी यंग और वो उन चीजों को नहीं समझी होंगी, एंड शी वाज वेरी सिंपल, एंड उस टाइम की जो एक यंग एज में होता है, तो कहीं ना कहीं उनकी एक एस्पिरेशन रही होंगी कि मेरे पापा नहीं रहे ये वो. तो दैट इमोशनल ऑरा जो उन्होंने क्रिएट किया ना, उन्होंने उनको तो जकड़ के रखा, दैट इज वन थिंग. और कुछ जो उनको अफेक्ट किया होगा वो चलता रहता होगा. नाउ शी हैज नाउ क्रिएटेड अ शेल ऑफ, जब भी वो, जैसे वो कह रही है ना कि अभी जब उनको कभी भी वो दुखी होती है, भयभीत होती है, इधर यू आर फियरफुल और सरोफुल, तभी हम लोगों का लिंक फिर बढ़ जाता है, जिस चीज को हम अट्रैक्ट करते हैं. तो चाहे वो जिस लेवल पे भी होंगे, कुछ या तो वो हैं इसलिए आते हैं, या फिर इन्होंने इतना कर रखा है उस चीज को दिमाग में कि वो जैसे स्मोक की बात सुन के तो मुझे भी अजीब लग रहा है. ठीक है, एक थॉट वाइब्रेशन तक तो ठीक है, क्योंकि स्मोक के लेवल पे वो स्मेल का ट्रांसफॉर्म होना, कहीं ना कहीं भाभी ने उतना स्ट्रांगली उनको रखा हुआ छोड़ नहीं पा रही हैं. करेक्ट मी, मुझे ये लग रहा है, क्योंकि स्मोक इट एज अ वेरी फिजिकल, स्मेल जो है मेरे फिजिकल ऑर्गन में है, तो मैंने ही उसको, उस चीज को इतना क्रिएट करके रखा है. तो ये नहीं जा पा रहा है मेरे से, जहां तक स्मोक की बात है. आप बताइए.
हाँ, नो, आई थिंक बोथ, दोनों पॉसिबिलिटी हो सकती हैं. एंड स्मेल इज आल्सो रिलेटेड विद द प्रेजेंस, क्योंकि समटाइम्स व्हेन यू आर सराउंडेड बाय गुड स्मेल, it is said that some positive spirits are around you, so you can, like Master KH, Master M, they have their particular smells. So, or similarly all the people have, it's like the natural perfume. We use some deodorant or perfume, but the natural perfume of our soul is unique. So that can, one possibility ये भी हो सकती है स्मिता जी कि ठीक है, आपने इतना सोचा है उस बारे में, सो आप उसको कर लेती हैं, but that you can overcome. But the other thing is also कि आप वो अभी भी हैं और वो मे बी ही स्टिल नॉट श्योर or comfortable to leave you, and maybe he's still there to care for you, to protect. So that's why every time you feel like that, he comes and tries to comfort. But having said that, one thing you can still do for his onward journey, if you really, because if you really love somebody, if you really want to progress, you can include that in your prayers, and you can send them your thoughts, because only your thoughts and emotions will reach him. Just like your fear reaches him, similarly your prayer will means thoughts will reach him, that I am okay, I am comfortable, I am strong, and I pray for your further journey, for a smooth journey. You don't have to worry about me, with your bottom of the heart. And you keep doing it, and you try it for some time and see what happens, because this is the only way that he can rest assured. Because again, I have a personal experience from somebody. The husband died of the wife, and we know that auntie, and the uncle came in her dreams and told him that every time you cry here for me, I feel suffocated there. So actually, that's why in theosophy it is said that when somebody dies, do not cry, do not, be so much in sorrowful suffering, because the person is moving ahead. And by you crying, and because we cry for our selfish reason, the person is free, but we cry for ourselves because we feel the vacuum, we feel that somebody is lost. So at that time, we should only pray for the peaceful and smooth journey, onward journey of the soul. The more we cry and want to attach, they will feel bounded to us, and that will create obstruction in their journey. But as we study in thought power, we can use the same thought power for their peaceful journey. So that you can try, Smitaji, and we can see later what happens.
Thank you, Brother Shikhar. I see Dr. Kevin also raising hand.
Hi everyone, good morning. I remember thinking of this thought a very long time back. So how I just want to discuss with this thing with you. So it is not directly connected to karma, but it is connected with reincarnations. So how this goes is the in our physical world, time moves only forward. The only way time how to say, time only moves forward. It cannot go backwards, or it is not stagnant. It can slow down at time to time depending upon our perceptions, but in a general sense, time just moves forward in our universe. I mean, in our physical plane. And when we talk about the concept of time in our astral plane, some say it is very different from our perception of time. And from our perception, we can just say that their time, from our perception, their time is just there, and we do not know whether it's moving forward or backwards. So when this thought came to me, I do not know from where this thought came to me. Maybe I may have watched a movie or something. I do not know. But the thing is, so how this goes is, so this is my first birth, for example, I'm saying. So in my second birth, I'm what to say, I'm being born as a farmer in 16th century or 13th century. So in my next birth, I'm being born even back further. So from our traditional point of view, the furthest one would be my first incarnation, correct? But from my perspective, that is not my first incarnation. This is my first incarnation. So this was my first thought, and there is this theory called one electron universe. Matlab, what it actually says is, they say that there is only one electron in the entire universe, and it just goes backward and forward in time, so that we can see all electrons. Because from where this question arised was, physicists were not able to figure out why the charge of electron was that much. So I do not know his name. So he proposed this theory called a single electron theory, where all the electrons in the universe are the same electron moving backward and forward in time. So how this thought came to me is that, are we all the same soul being reincarnated at different point of time? So when I'm where I would lead to further thinking is, when I'm hurting or when I'm doing something bad for someone, am I doing bad to myself? I just wanted the people just to discuss. Do you understand from where I'm? You
Yeah,
understand?
Kevin, I can see, I can hear you out loudly. I think, we'll talk about it in a different chapter or so altogether. Gradually, you will understand that there is no other.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. So अभी हम लोग उस स्टेज में हैं, हम लोग अभी this that me other ऐसे सोच कर रहे हैं ना. So एक वक्त ऐसा आएगा, हम लोग एक सिचुएशन में भी देखेंगे. Have you ever felt so intensely in love with somebody else, or have you ever felt a pain of others? आपके घर में किसी के साथ कुछ बुरा हुआ, आपको कितना तगड़ा पेन हो रहा है, उस टाइम आप एक वननेस फील करते हैं, राइट?
Yes,
ये जब इसी तरह के जब आपके लाइफ में बहुत सारे एक्सपीरियंस होते जाएंगे, आपको धीरे धीरे आपका सोल का ना कॉन्शियसनेस का एक्सपेंशन होगा. आप अपनी कम्युनिटी, जो जितने भी वो थे, जो शहीद होते हैं लोग, या फिर जो फ्रीडम फाइटर्स थे, वो सब क्या थे?
English, Suvralina ji, he
I don't
doesn't understand Hindi.
understand.
Yeah. So anyone who is a freedom fighter or a soldier, what does he do? He represents the communities, represents the crores of people, because he feels for them. So it's a different topic altogether. We'll go into it, but gradually we all will realize that we are all one. There is no other. And this concept of one unit, and that is fluctuating or vibrating to and fro, and we are in a circle we are coming and going. This will very clearly explained when you start understanding that. But today we are restricting to reincarnation and karma. That's why we are talking about it. But yes, there are different other books. When we read, we will discuss that. That is fine.
Thank you so much.
And
yes,
see you at 3 o'clock. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Sister Suvralina. And today was a very interactive and very different session. I personally enjoyed it a lot. So I think it's time already. So let's proceed and let us sit in meditation for a minute and absorb all the new things we have learned today. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kashit Dukh Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. It was a very wonderful and a nice experience, at least for me as a moderator. So let's meet next week, same time and same place.